My name is Tina Bradford, and I am your hostess. And let's start like we normally do. Just drop into that little area in your webinar control panel. Let me know what company you're with and where you're located in the U.S. This allows me to know a little bit more insight about what's going on in your business. And then also, in case you do need, we do have handouts in there, the add videos, download apps, getting started guide, as well as highlighting in real time. So if you need any of those, grab those sometime during this call. That way you'll be able to have them available to you. And let's see who we have. SWBC Mortgage, Caliber, Brant out in Florida. We have a Prime Lending, Universal Lending, CBC, National Bank. Nice to have you here. And Cynthia says, hello, everyone. Capital Bank. And Van Dyke Mortgage. So nice to have all of you. This is our Q&A call, as you guys should know if you've been on the call before. Basically, this call is driven by you. What's going on out there in the market? What do you need help with? Ideas on strategy. Let me know right now if you have any questions or anything that you currently are focusing on or that you might need help overcoming in the market. Drop that into the little question area and I will get to it. And welcome Jack with Fairway as well. So again, if there's any questions or concerns, actually let me ask you this. Yesterday I was with one of my loan officer friends and I had her pull some rates for me. And I am just wondering, what is your 30-year fixed ideal credit rate right now? So what is that rate that you currently have, or have you pulled it for a 30-year fixed with a 720 credit score? DTI intact, everything's good. What is those rates? Anyone want to share what your current rates were? Because I was pretty surprised by what she pulled last night. And mind you, the person that she was pulling credits on was actually someone who had a 640 credit score. So Jody, those are great rates there. So yes, I will get to that, Jack. That is a possibility. So the only one that shared was Jody, and she's a little above 4.5. The rates that this person pulled, and I won't say what company she is with, but on a 640 credit score, DTI is good. 80 or 20% down was 5.75. I was floored. It was so incredibly high. And she says, we sell service, we don't sell rates. So it was really, really high. So just for those people that are still on the floors, count your blessings. I am going to talk a little bit, if no one has questions, I will talk a little bit about some strategies you can be using with the rates going up. But let's go back to Jack's question. Jack asked, can I record what I do on the screen and my audio, but turn off the web camera? You cannot record your movements, and I'm just going to go into a presentation here I have open. You cannot record your movement of what you're highlighting when you talk. That is not something that you can do. You can do a video and just record audio on the phone. However, the movement on the screen, you cannot do this way. There is another way, Jack. There's lots of different screen capture softwares that I know other loan officers are using. One of them that we use here in the office is called Camtasia. And you can make it so it records the screen, and then when you're recording the screen, talk into your mic in order to move that and be able to record it at the same time if that's the message you want to send over to your client. Then the question might become, how do I get it on my presentation? So when I send it over to the client sees it. Let me open up my phone for you. So when you go into Mortgage Coach onto your phone, there is an area that you want to be able, Camtasia, and I'll show you, I have it on this computer as well. I'm just going to go ahead and open that up. Let's move this over really quick. So this is Camtasia, and there's a little record button down here. And what you do is you choose the screen that you want. You open up that recorder, pick which screen you want to record. So it highlights in green. Let's say we're going to do this one, and I push that record button. Now it's recording this screen as I go through. So once I want to stop recording, I'm just going to exit out of it. So that is the way that you can record it as you're talking through it. So after you've recorded it, and I'm just going to quit that program. After you recorded it, then you're going to make sure that you send that video over to your phone. So you will text it or email it to yourself, open it up on your phone. Once you open it up on your phone, you are going to log into your Mortgage Coach account. Let me turn Camtasia off. There we go. And you want to make sure you go into the little white icon in that upper right-hand corner. That icon takes you to your settings. Here we have an iPhone. This is the way the iPhone turns it off. You need this to be green. If you have an Android, you want to make sure you have a checkbox in that little box next to it that says Camera Album Prompt. Now when I go into my presentation to attach it to the client, and I'm just going to go into this client, I'm going to click on my total cost analysis and then video. And then from video, I'm going to choose album. And I don't know if there's no videos on here. But then from there, I would choose the video that I wanted to upload, and I can attach that video to my presentation. So it is a little bit more work. I would only do this for my very special clients. And being very special, it might include those clients that it's harder for them to understand, so they really are special. So including it for those clients, that way you can really drive them. But the best thing is go through and do Mortgage Coach Live with them. Get them on the phone, actually drive their presentation, and talk through it with the client. So great question, Jack. Any other questions right now? New to Mortgage Coach, and I've been playing with it. How do I record on my phone instead of the web camera? Okay, let's cover that one first. So when you are on your phone, and have you logged in yet, Rhonda? Just raise your hand if you've already logged in on your phone. Perfect. So once you do log in, you're going to go into the area that's clients. You're going to click on whichever client you want to record your message on. I'm going to use Chris as an example. Clicking on Chris, then I'm going to click on the presentation. Remember, when you are recording, each presentation has a different link. So if I've done a total cost analysis and a rent versus own, these are two separate presentations. I want to record only on that one presentation. So I'm going to choose total cost analysis, and then I'm going to choose video. Once I choose video, I'm going to click on camera, and that's me. Hope we're all doing well. It's cold out here in California. I'm sorry. And so I will click on that little red button down at the bottom. That starts the timer. Timer's up at the top. Keep your message under 2 minutes. 1.5 minutes is actually optimal. Also, I always tell loan officers, don't go in depth in your message because you want that opportunity to reach back out to your clients. If you give them too much information, if you feed them too much, they have no reason to talk to you again. If they feel comfortable, they have that opportunity to go to another lender. So you want to build that relationship to make sure that they're coming back to you. In it, I always cover what products am I showing? What conversation did we have? So which goal did your client want to meet that you feel a certain product? Really look into that 15-year fix, because even though you're not saving more money in the short term, in the long term, you can see you're saving about $6,500. Information like that's very helpful. Tell them to click into the more information. When they dive in here, look at the numbers, see what fits best for your family. Always mention your realtor. On your realtor, don't just say, hey, you know, Jim's a great guy. No, say the last time Jim and I worked together, we closed the loan in 23 days. That's amazing. Or we had to really overcome this issue about an inspection. He is fabulous to work with because he's really a problem solver. You want to talk about how the two of you work well together in order to build confidence with your client. You also want to give them a call to action. So don't just leave it as, thanks, I look forward to working with you. Leave it as, call me back. If I don't hear from you by this time and this date, I'm going to call you Thursday at 4:30. I hope this works. If it doesn't, contact me before then. So that way you have a call to action. And the last thing is make sure you are asking for referrals. This is impressive. So when people look at this, they're typically like, oh, look what I have. So let them know, you know what, if I've earned business from you and you feel like you want to share this with your friends and families, please, by all means, share my information with others. So always ask for that referral, but you don't have to directly come out and say, hey, you know what, if you have friends or family buying or selling, mention my name. Just do it in a very kind, non-selling way, because people don't like sales. People like people. Stop that button right down there. You're going to click on that use video. It always stops on the most beautiful picture of me. Once I've done this, I will click on done. So once it uploads, the other thing you might want to cover in that presentation itself is letting them know they can share it with friends and family and even their realtor. So if they are interested in sharing it with others, please contact you and you will teach them how to share it. I'm going to click on done. Now I can send it over to Chris by clicking on his name, clicking on total cost analysis, upper right-hand corner, this little piece of paper with the arrow. That is my share button. If I'm on an Android, this is the less than symbol with 3 dots. So that's where I'll click on it to share to my client. And again, personalize, personalize, personalize. Just don't send this over to them. Make sure that you're adding something warm and friendly on there. You know what, Chris? How was your daughter's softball game? I hope that she did really well. Something that makes you and the client connect even more to build that relationship, because you're not in a sales position. You're in a relationship building position. So when the client receives it, and I'm going to click on view report because this is just like when the client would receive it. And then I understand when a client receives it, in order for you to show them how to share it, there's 2 spots to share. If you are, and you need to know both because you never know which phone your client has. So if you have an Android phone or your client has an Android phone, tell them on this page to look down by the words powered by Mortgage Coach, and there's the word share link. That is where they will click on. On the iPhone, they will click on your information just by touching anywhere down in your picture, and the share link is in the upper right-hand corner. So that is where we are able to share it, the link, if we're the client, with our realtor. And sharing it with the realtor is fabulous because then it's a warm introduction to you without you really saying, why don't you introduce me to your realtor? So if you guys work together, of course, you'll know the realtor, but just by this, the realtor is able to see what you're presenting to your client. So so if you revise the report, so if I go in here and I make changes to the report, the link does not change. The link is the same link every single time. So on the other side of this, you need to be careful that you're not sending this link out to other people or changing things and playing with the presentation if it's an actual client. Make sure that you have a play file if you're playing in it, and a work file. So you're not changing the client's actual information. So the link was the same, the image was updated, but my video was the original video. Yes, your video will stay attached because it is the same link. If you want to remove a video, and I'll bring this back over. If you want to remove a video from a presentation, you will go into the presentation, go into there, and then view there. Now here's where you can click that trash can right in that upper right hand corner. I'll click on, whoops, I clicked over too far. Click on that trash can right up there, and I have fat fingers. And it'll ask me, do I want to delete that video? So I will click on delete, and now that presentation video is no longer on there. So that's how you can delete it. You cannot delete it if you are in the browser. Only on the phones can you delete video. So great questions. Thank you, Rhonda. Let's move on to Jonathan's question. FHA versus conventional template. Okay, let's talk about that FHA versus conventional template. And everyone should have already an FHA versus conventional in their Mortgage Coach. This is one of the standard presentations. So when you go into that presentation, FHA versus conventional, and this is one I built the other day. Let's see. I'm going to close that. I want to make sure I'm in. That's why. Let's go into my account. So when you go into your view all and you simply type in FHA and you click on search, you should have an FHA versus conventional template in there. And I'm going to find my oldest one because that would be the original file. So it is this one here, double clicking into that one. So this is a presentation that's already set up. So in order for you to make this now your template, you can go through each page. So the goal is get my first house. And this one is a rent versus own. So let's say you don't want a rent versus own up here in the client, just turn it off to own, and then it's no longer a rent versus own. But we know most of the people that are going FHA versus conventional, in most cases, they're first-time home buyers. So rent versus own is a good opportunity for you to be able to educate them a little bit more. So placing in this, or you can delete it out and now make it all zeros because you're going to make this your master template. So I'm just going to delete out the information and I'll advance forward. Again, I want no information in here because I'm going to use it as a template now. When I get to products, this one doesn't have anything in. I can name it whatever I want. So I'm just going to put FHA 3.5%. Now I'm going to leave it blank. I'm going to take out closing cost. So let's delete those out. Apply that to your loan. Take out the days here. Leave in your upfront MI. Now, if you always do 15 days of interest, leave that 15 days of interest in there. You want to eliminate keystrokes for later on. I live in Southern California. I'm going to put 0.35 and 125 here. You don't have to. You can leave it blank if yours changes all the time. But if you do have something static, leave that static in there. More likely 3.5%. It's always going to be that 0.85. I'm going to leave that in there. And then on my hazard insurance and property tax, if I always quote the same amount initially in my loan estimate, I'm going to put those in there. If I don't quote it in my loan estimate the same each time, I'm going to leave those blank. Now I'll advance forward. Once I advance forward, I have second loan. We want no second loan. Now when I advance forward, this next one I'm going to do is going to be that conventional. 5%. So I have two choices here. I can simply copy that FHA 3.5%, or I can enter from scratch. So I'm going to copy from that FHA 3.5%. Click on OK. And let me check something really quick. This did not show up even though it showed up on that second page. So now let me do it. Okay, so my FHA is dropped in there. Now I can change this to 5%. I want to pull that out, so now there's no upfront. Now if I'm doing a single premium upfront, I'm going to put this in as a single premium down at the bottom. So depending on how you show your FHA. Now we'll advance forward. There's something going on with this one. We're just going to delete this info out. And then we'll advance forward. It's probably because I've changed it so many times. Whatever your mortgage interest is, you can place that in there. I'm going to say it's 0.55. And now their minimum months, I'm going to say is 84. I can place in my hazard insurance and property tax reserves only if I collect it each time. This one has a third. I played in this one a lot apparently. So on the third one, I'm just going to delete the name and put it third product, where I can add a third product if I want. Now the analysis window, everything's going to be blank in here, but again, set it up for your normal client. I'm going to put 4% and 10. leave it at 60, and now I have that FHA ready for me to go in and build it in. Now remember, if you were in here last week, at the beginning of this template, add an asterisk, because that's going to allow it to come right to the top of the list if you do a search. So now I'll advance forward. I'll go into my home screen and I'll show you when I click into the view all. I have several different templates, and all those templates pop right up because they have asterisks in the front. So they're all listed right there. So we can see one of these are the master template that I just built. But you'll be able to go in and find yours really easy because you won't have as many as me. So all good, Jonathan? And if you have any other questions, go ahead and drop in questions in the queue. I will talk a little bit about what's going on in the market and a couple of strategies to approach. We have talked about that cash out with revolving credit. That's going to be a big one for you for refinances. So focus on that cash out with revolving credit. The second one that might be an optimal one to use is the cost of waiting. Cost of waiting would be great. And I have a sample of cost of waiting. I believe mine is pre-election, so I did mine a long time ago. So cost of waiting template. On the cost of waiting template, you're going to have 3 products. So this one has January 2017. I would have January 2018, today's, and then December 2018. I have not looked up, and I always focus on Freddie Mac because they're typically the ones who know or estimate the best rate at the end of the year. So I would look up Freddie Mac and see what is Freddie Mac expecting to see for rates for December 2018, and I would use that as my last one. So January 2017 and December 2017 products, have them completely built out. So build them without a purchase price. You can have your 20% down if you want. You can place what that interest rate. At the beginning of January 2017, that interest rate was 4.287 on average. And then that December one, again, build it out so you have that interest rate in there already. That way it's already laid in there. You don't have to come back and copy it all over. And the other thing, because you have, they're identical products in every single presentation, you can add in your closing cost on these ones. And then you can use these to copy in order to make your today's. So if you have a 30-year fixed template, add in that 30-year fixed template and apply it to the loan after everything's correct. If you use percentages here, again, you can drop them right in. Then when you're ready to build your second product, this product would be all blank. All you need to do is copy from that first product and then make the changes on the interest rate. So it becomes really easy. So as a borrower is looking at home, counter offering an offer, is it best to do a new analysis for a borrower, potentially having a view one for one borrower in the client list, or is it override the same file? Neither nor. Copy files. So when you have a client, and let's talk about, I'll use Chris as my sample. So Chris is looking at a home, and he's looking at a home that right now is outside of his DTI. So he's looking at a home that's $600,000. He can only afford $562,000. So I have that presentation for $562,000. His dad says he can give him some extra money. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to go into Chris's presentation, and now he's getting some gift funds. Instead of going in and rebuilding this whole presentation, I'm going to copy it because I want that initial one that he qualified for. But now I want to go in and be able to copy it to him. Everything's going to copy over. It's going to be an identical file. In the assumption area, I'm going to update it now to the amount that his dad said he can give him an extra $30,000 if he really loves this house. We all need dads like that. And then when I go in here, I'm going to update this information. If you need to update the interest rate, you can update the interest rate, but more likely closing costs, if you have them in there, they're all going to be the same. Prepaids are all going to be the same. And you can add a second product. Add that second product on there of that original 662K presentation. Copy it from that first one. And now we're going to change it back to the 562 so he can see how's it going to impact his payment. Because a lot of times they have these grand thoughts, hey, dad's going to give me an extra $30,000, you know, I'll have more in my pocket. However, they still only want to put that 20% down. So you can do that. The other possible solution here is to add that $20,000 to his down payment or $30,000 to his down payment. So I would copy it from here. And in that down payment amount, I would switch it over to dollars and I would add that $30,000 right here. Whoops, I only added, it should be 50. There we go. So now that I've added that extra money there, now we're going to be able to, and it might be possible if they're coming in with extra cash, interest rate might even adjust. So you'll be able to show your client that ability to see what is really going on. Do I still want to only make that 20% down and have that higher payment? Because that's talking about an extra $200 per month here. Or do I want to put that extra gift money down on the property and still have what we have, but have the lower payment? So it all depends on your client, which strategy you're going to show them. If you know that they are tight and they spend a lot of money, because you get their checking account statement. If they spend a lot of money, really think about the client here. Is it going to be beneficial for that client to go up in the price, even though there's room in the DTI? Or do we want to stick with the lower price range because that's what they're comfortable at right now? That's what they're paying for rent. So really think about your client when you're coming in to show the presentations. So great question, Rhonda. Any other questions you guys can think of? Has anyone in here ever done a cost of waiting presentation? Raise your hand if you've done that cost of waiting. No, this is a great one to show clients. This is also if they have a credit score that comes into you low and it's like 3 or 4 points lower than that cutoff mark. Maybe they come in at a 623 or 663, and 665 is one of those points that increases or lowers their interest rate. By showing them if they improve their credit, that new interest rate. So you can do one at their current interest or their current FICO score, and then do a second presentation improving FICO score. So that's another presentation that, again, it's more strategic, and you're educating your client about how improving their FICO score actually improves their interest rate. So it's one I haven't seen in the market. The other one is that counteroffer presentation that you can show their current presentation. And I believe I have a sample in here on that one as well. So counteroffer is really strategic because you're showing them, here's what you offered the client. Here's what the client is coming back to you offering. And here's what might happen if you choose to wait to buy a different house. So the products I'm showing in here is that current offer, the counter offer, waiting for 90 days, and price and interest rate increase. We'll look a little bit at these. So current offer was $350. The counter offer, they wanted $5,000 more. So we can see up here, it does increase their payment slightly. But if they are to wait 90 days, still $350. I adjusted the interest rate up just slightly on this one. They may be able to go in and buy, but in 90 days, price and interest both increase. Then they now are above the price that their counteroffer is. So and the way that you gauge how long am I going to look here, some people, it takes 5 to 6 months for them to find a house depending on the area. So you'll want this instead of 90 days, it would be 6 months later. Finding a house 6 months later, because it took you 6 months to find this house. So talking to the clients, making them understand that that $5,000 is not such a big increase. If you wait 6 months, and especially if the interest rates keep increasing, you may be priced out of this same home. You may not be able to afford it. So counteroffer is a great one to use to show those clients that possibility later on what might happen. So Darren, your hand is raised. I'm going to unmute you if you have a question. Raise your hand again if you have a question, Darren, and I'll unmute you. Nope. Okay. Any other questions we have that I can help you guys resolve? Oh, you typed it in. Okay. Is there a way to change the order of these? You cannot change the order of these by just moving them, but I will show you a tricky way to do it. So if you really need to change, maybe you don't like the way it doesn't display quite right, you want this 90 days after to be after the price increase, go to the end of the presentation part here. Save it as a template as the name that you had it as. Again, asterisks are your friend, and click on OK. You're going to go to the end of the 90-day one. Save it as a template. Add that asterisk so you know exactly which one it is, and click on OK. Now what I'm able to do is I'm going to put that price increase one here. So I'm going to come down here. I have several asterisks. It's usually at the bottom because I haven't saved it yet. Price increase. I just copied that one to this one. And now I'm going to place this one the 90 days after. So one of them copied and the other one didn't. Let me make sure that I have them in there. But that's the way to do it, is to use your templates. So if I used a template before, it will not copy it over. Secret there. So it will only copy once from a template. And I think that's what's going on here. Is it stuck on that previous template that I used. Now, after you've done that, go up to your settings, go into your product template, and delete these templates out of there because you won't need them later on, more likely. Now, if they are something you might need later on, leave them in there. And that way you have that whole template already built up. So that's the only way you can reorder it, is by using those templates to overlay it. But again, it's really tricky. It also depends on the order that you put it in, so pay attention to when you're doing it. But most of the time, it's only a few items you need to change in the verbiage. The other thing that you can do is just take a screenshot of the ones that you want to do. So if I know this is the only information different, I'm just going to do a screenshot here. Copy the screenshot. It'll come onto my desktop, and then I can open it up so I know, whoops, that's not it. There it is. I'm going to throw this one away. So now I have that screenshot. I can simply just copy from this screenshot and make sure by having it on the side, make sure that it matches. So that's another way to do it if you don't want to be messing with your templates and making sure that everything's typed in. So, but to actually just move them an easy way, unfortunately, not a possibility. It is something that's been sent over to beta. And speaking of beta, if there's anything that you guys want or need and you're out in the field and you're like, oh my God, this would make my life so much easier, send over a message to beta@mortgagecoach.com. And I put that in the chat box. That's going to be able to allow them to prioritize, because the more messages they get about the same topic, that goes to the top of the list if it's something doable. If it's not something doable, you'll typically get a response back saying, hey, we can't do this for you. It may be something that we look into later on in the future. But if it is something doable, then they'll just put it in priority based on how many people respond and how many people request it. So any other questions that we have? When you're doing a rent analysis, is there a way to have the monthly payments expressed with taxes and insurance? Okay, let's talk a little bit about that rent versus own analysis, because it is a different presentation. And I gotta see which one I want to use. On the rent versus own, I want to make sure I have products in here. On the rent versus own analysis, all the basic information is going to be in there. It's just where are you going to look for that information? So this rent versus own, and let me go ahead and, if you don't know, the new erase all button is up there to erase. But what you're seeing in that upper right-hand corner is no longer the monthly payments. This is the net monthly payments. What this is covering is unrecoverable costs. And the reason we've done that is because unrecoverable cost is the most comparison to rent. You will never get this money for rent back in your pocket. You will never get this money back in the pocket. And the way that it is calculated is you take that down payment, you add the closing cost, prepaids, and the interest. Where's my interest in here? Actually, I think they need to change that word. I might just need to clear out my cash. This normally says interest paid. So you'll add the interest in MI with the closing costs prepaid, because that's money that you're not getting back into the pocket. So when I add those together, that's where I get my net monthly payment, and then it's comparing them. Which payment's the most expensive? Actually, rent is more costly because I'm going to be earning equity, and if you show a tax benefit, it's going to even lower this a little bit more. In order for my client to see the actual monthly payment breakdown, they need to go into that more information into the payment breakdown. Here, they're going to see the property tax, hazard insurance, if there's MI. So it's just leading your client to the right area. Make sure that if you want them to see the breakdown, this is where they're going to see it. If they just want to check the total payments, here is the total payments compared to rent. So any questions on the rent versus own analysis besides that one? Darren, are we all good on that one? Perfect. No other questions on rent versus own? And I know Peyton's not on here. One question I have been getting a lot is tax benefit. Tax benefit calculations are still not in there for 2018, and I'll talk a little bit about the why. When the federal government rolled this out, they did not make it clear and precise how it was impacting the mortgage industry. So there's a few articles out there, but there is nothing from the federal government itself. So we have reached out to our CPA accountant, and our CPA accountant is helping us actually do the back end so it is correct. And before we roll it out, we want to make sure that it is correct for the clients. But if you're unaware of what's going on with the tax benefits, because the increase in the annual analysis. Let's go over here in the assumption area and I'll show you. The standard deduction increase is almost doubled for most people. So there's going to be less of a tax benefit based on how much interest you have. The total amount of interest is going to have to be higher than that standard deduction before it even comes into play. So on this is head of household one is what this would have been. I believe head of household is now $12,500 or close to there. So in order for me to write off any of my interest on my home, this is going to have to be higher than that amount, adding that interest to my other deductibles. So just know we are working on it. That is actually one of the things that is in our top of our priority button, is getting those tax benefits all done and rolled out. But because of the delay in the actual federal government information, we've actually been delayed a bit about it. So any other questions on Mortgage Coach presentations that you have? Raise your hand if you're currently using open house flyers or have recently used an open house flyer. Raise your hand if you're currently doing open houses. So one person doing open houses and that's it. 2, open houses. We have a system that we are actually working on that is a virtual open house. So what this, or not a virtual open house, a paperless open house. So we are actually encouraging people not to be having an open house flyer available in the open house itself. And the reason why is because a couple of people have been working it this way and they're finding it easier to capture your client's information. So if you have someone coming in to look at the open house, you know, one of the first questions they always ask is, where's the flyer? Responding where's the flyer, and you'll have a total cost analysis built on that house or an open house flyer, either one. You'll say, in order to receive it, we support the environment, so we have gone paperless. So I can send that over to your email directly or to your phone. Just give me a text or your phone with your name and I will put it in here and send it over to you right now. They're finding people are willing to give the information because they don't feel it as invasive as write down your contact information when you come into an open house. So if you are doing an open house, test it out, work it. You might find different ways that work a little better than you. We can only give you ideas, but to actually implement it until you guys are out there in the field and test it out a little bit. We always love to hear feedback after you have gone in and tested out. Does it work? Does it not work for you in your area? All depends on your area. Okay, we have about 15 minutes left. Any other questions that we have? You guys are pretty quiet lately. Lately, I've been bombarded with questions. So let's look at if any of these topics are something you want to talk about. So basic overview, mobile editor, annual mortgage review, or managing your Mortgage Coach account. Are any of these topics a topic you want to talk about? If you do, let me know. If not, don't click on all of those and let me know in the question area what is it that you guys want to talk about today. If there's any other topics you want to talk about. Okay, let's talk a little bit. I've only had a couple of people vote, but they've all voted for the Managing Your Mortgage Coach account. And that actually is a great topic because unless your Mortgage Coach account is set up properly, then you are not going to be able to go in and build that 5-minute TCA. I can build a TCA in 2 minutes or less because I have my account set up properly. For those of you who have an enterprise account, and that's a company, you're working underneath a company that has a contract with us, may not apply to you. But for those that you don't, in your settings area, we'll start off with the contact information. If it's grayed out, you cannot change it unless you email your admin or us here at Mortgage Coach. So different people, depending on what company you're with, different things might be grayed out. Down at the bottom, license number. Make sure you have NMLS and the number sign in front of it. This allows people to know what that number is. Otherwise, all they see is the number itself and not what it is, and they won't understand what that number is for. The website URL just is for your basic website, but that Start Now address is important. If you have an online application and you're using this, maybe you're using it pre-approval stage or a different stage, always include that Start Now. And what this Start Now is, it takes you right to your application. So your online application address, that's what you're going to place here. Another way to use this Start Now button is if you do have the ability to place things on social media, and I know all companies do not allow that within compliance. So if you're with one of those companies and it's not compliant, please don't do it. But if you can do that, what I would build is I would build a buy now presentation that's a cost of waiting, showing people what's going on in the market. Make sure you have your Start Now address, because when they come into the presentation and they open it up, they'll be able to go to your Start Now button right here and actually go in, and mine just leads me back to Mortgage Coach, go in and fill that out to send you over a lead. So post it on your social media, what's going on. Click in there. If you want to see one of these based on your own scenario, click on the Go button at the top. Everything else in here is pretty self-explanatory. Images, if you're having a problem uploading, file is probably too large. All it takes is you to resize it. If you don't know how to resize it, go to your internal IT department or send it over to support@mortgagecoach.com and we'll be able to help you with resizing. Product templates, fee templates, and report templates. These are all the areas you want to spend time setting them up properly. Let's talk about report templates first. Report templates is going to talk about the information in the windows. Payment notes here, I would make sure that I include taxes and insurance are included. If it's only an estimate, actual numbers will be given once you're in closing. Information like that's what you're going to include in that payment. If you speak Spanish, then click on the Spanish payment notes and write your Spanish payment notes in there in Spanish as well. That way, it's a simple toggle at the end of your presentation, and you're not rewriting in Spanish notes each time. But if you're doing Spanish, you have to not only do it on your total cost analysis, and this may be as easy as copy and pasting to each section, but seller buy down, Spanish notes is also there, rent versus own, as well as your open house flyer. So make sure that you are going into each section and adding those Spanish notes in. Fee templates. In order to get your fee templates, you're going to have to bring up a loan estimate of your average loan that you do. So here's my loan estimate. I'm going to make it a little bigger so you can see it. I'm just going to place this over here. And I'm going to move this over. So if I'm doing a fee template for this loan, and this is my basic conventional 30-year fixed loan, I'm going to come down and click on New. I'm going to give it a name. If I work in different states, I'm going to add that state to it. Then I'm going to click on OK, and I'm just going to go through this. So I'm going to add a fee. And this first one's my origination fee, and that one actually is a percentage. So 0.25, add my second fee, application fee, and I'm just typing A until I find application fee, 405. And I'm just going to go through this list, adding them on. If I come to something on this list that's not in this list, then I can go in and add it with a custom fee. You can add it in, let's say, I'm just going to put custom fee. Make sure that if it is an APR fee, that you've clicked APR. If it's prepaid default, you can add prepaid fees. Make sure you're clicking whatever is necessary, and then click on OK. Other fees, make sure you're checking which ones are APR, which ones are not. If you are unsure, do not ask Mortgage Coach. The best place to go is internally to your manager or an underwriter. The reason why I say don't come to Mortgage Coach is each state is different on what they consider APR fees. So we do not have all the different states, what their actual APR fees are. We do have the standard, what is normally an APR fee, but we're finding out states actually have different ones that they consider APR. So go to your manager, go to your underwriter, ask which ones are APR fees, and then you're done building those templates. I would suggest building out templates for first conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, the ones that you do purchase and refi. So you should have at least 8 in there. If you do all 4 of those loans, you should have 8 of them in there. If you're with an enterprise and you want us to build the templates for you and you're with a company that has a contract with us, we can build branch ones that's for your whole branch. In order to do that, we need to have copies of a loan estimate or those fees for each of those loans emailed to us with your manager's permission. So your manager needs to be on that email, and email that over to templates@mortgagecoach.com. So again, if you're with an enterprise and want them built, email it to templates@mortgagecoach.com. Once you build in your templates, then you'll move over to your product templates. In your product templates, again, you're going to build the basic presentations. A couple of them in here. I don't have them in here, but FHA loans. We know that a 5% or a 3.5% FHA loan is handled different than a 10% FHA loan. Be very specific in each of your titles. So if I was doing FHA, I would do FHA. Let's do less than 625, 3.5%, or actually we'll do less than 5%. So now I know that this is only going to apply to those FHA loans. If I do a new FHA loan, actually I would probably want to add 30-year in there as well. If I'm doing a 15-year, I know that the MI factors are going to be different down in the bottom. Now you're going to fill out the information in here that stays stagnant. If it stays the same with every single loan, you want to fill it in. If you always quote 15 days of interest, we know term on this would be 360. It's a fixed loan. Closing cost details, I can come in and I can lay my FHA fees in there already. Once I'm just going to put a random number in here. Apply that to the template. Now you'll see I have APR, non-APR, monthly cost. I'm going to come in here. If I'm in a state, I can use percentages. Add those percentages in. I'll add my mortgage insurance in. MI cutoff and minimum month do not apply in this case. However, I do want the calculate MI on balance checked. If you are doing a federal government loan, this needs to be checked. If you are not doing a federal government loan, if you're doing a conventional, have it unchecked. The reason why FHA calculates MI 12 times a year, the conventional loans only calculate MI once a year. We'll click on OK. Now we'll go on down. If you always collect the same amount or give the same amount of reserves, you can add them in there. So now when I go into my home screen and I want to build out a build out a product, and I'm just going to go into products to show you. I can place in that FHA loan, go in and add my template, and we'll see if I can find the one I just built. It's typically at the bottom. right there. And so any information that I placed in that template is already pulled over for me. So the only information that I would need to fill in is when I put in the assumptions, the amount for the purchase price, that would be laid in for me. I could have added this percentage if it's more often 3.5 than 5%, I'll add in that 3.5 in the actual presentation template. And then I'll add my interest rate. Now I have everything complete in this presentation. So you can see how fast it can be, but taking the time to set up your account is essential, because when you are setting up that account, it's going to save you time in the back end when you are building out that template, and you only have to set your account up once. If you have a fee, maybe I go in and I find that I'm always having to change my application fee to $350. That application fee is updated and now it's $350 and I'm always changing it. Go into your settings, find that template, and go in to your closing cost details and change that application fee. So you'd be able to go in and adjust it in here. The other place you want to adjust it is then go into your fee templates and also change that fee template, and I don't know which one I use, change that fee template to that new price. So then when you go use that template, you're not going to have to key those in every single time again. You've already updated it by changing it in the templates. If you change anything in these templates, the only thing you have to do to save your information is just change it. Same with images. However, the contact information, you have to click on save. If you do not click on save, it will not save your information. So any questions on all of that? I know that was a lot of information, but again, it will help you in the long run if you go in and you set this up. So any questions on any of it? Looks like we are all good. We are at the end of the hour. Andrea, do you want me to unmute you? I'm going to unmute you so you can ask your question. You're unmuted. So no sound is coming through. So not sure if you do have a question. I did unmute you on my end. So you can ask if you do have a question, or if it won't work, you can type it in as well. Okay, looks like we are all good. If you do have questions, we are always here. Support button's down there. Live chat is there most of the time during our working hours. If it's not there, you will get a contact us, which is an email. First thing the guys do when they come in and support is go through that email and try to get through all of those questions. If it is something urgent, you can also send over a message to support@mortgagecoach.com and put urgent or something in the top of that, and that way we know to get to it as fast as possible, especially if you're out in the field working. So that is all I have for you today. I hope you did take away and learn something. I appreciate your time, and I hope to see you back next Thursday with any questions that you have while you're learning Mortgage Coach. Thanks a lot for your time. Bye-bye.